Good morning. It's Frank Messina, and I'm welcome you to the May 18, 2021 meeting of the Chatham Historical Commission. We're meeting at our new time now, 9:30 rather than 2:30 in the afternoon. I hope it didn't cause too much problems, but thank you very much. We have a couple of announcements here we need to make before we start. This meeting is being conducted via remote participation. Please note, this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting at this time, please notify the chairman. Having seen none, assume no one's recording. Pursuant to Governor's Baker March 12, 2020 order, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law 30A-18, and the Governor's March 23, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Chatham Historical Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of the members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may doing so by calling the phone number 508-945-4410, conference ID 678-784-600, hashtag. Despite our best efforts, we will not be able to provide for real-time access, and we will post a record of this meeting on the town website as soon as possible. Interesting, with things happening, thank goodness, the way they are, it's possible we may be having in-person meetings shortly. I didn't listen to the Board of Health meeting last night, but I guess we'll find out something tonight at the Selectmen meeting. This meeting is being conducted via the process of roll call for decisions and discussions. It just is a necessary evil as part of the virtual meeting process. Members of the public will be given a chance to speak to any item on the agenda when recognized by the chair. Okay. The first item is the roll call. Vice Chair Bob Lear.
I'm here.
Clerk Sandy Porter.
I'm present.
Ben.
Here.
Steph.
Here.
Jane.
Here.
Don.
Here.
Steve is not here, and Erica is not here. So we have all 7 members, and the chair is here, obviously, of the regular commission, and we can proceed. The next item on the agenda, we have one hearing, and we have a number of old business items to address. Nothing too serious, I don't believe.
Sure.
Well, we do have the stop worker that's going to take order to discuss. That'll take a little bit of time. But other than that, everybody should be able to get back out and cut the grass in a couple of hours. Okay. We have the minutes of May 4th, 2021. Everybody was present except Sandy and Erica. Any comments, corrections, additions, deletions?
Frank,
Wow.
Frank,
Yes,
is
yes,
Jane,
yes, Jane.
since we didn't discuss 305 Main Street, should that be in the minutes?
Say again that we didn't discuss it?
We didn't talk about 305 Main Street.
Well, yeah, we did. We accepted the continuance.
Yes. you did.
Oh, only that, but the first 2 paragraphs we didn't talk about.
You're talking on the public hearings?
I'm talking about the bottom of page 1. Yes.
Well, the applications were scheduled and on the agenda, and it's posted the way it should be posted legally. And if you notice, it says applicant has accepted, requested a continuance. So we discussed it and provided a continuance.
I saw that, but the first 2 paragraphs we didn't do.
The first 2 paragraphs, what?
We didn't discuss. It's no big deal. It's just that we didn't talk about it.
Well, we did talk about it. We talked about the continuance.
Okay.
All right, anything else?
I move approval.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. We have a second. If no further corrections, deletions, roll call, Mr. Lear,
Yes.
Sandy,
I abstain. I wasn't here.
thank you. Ben,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes,
Jane,
Yes,
Don,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Minutes accepted. Thank you very much. Okay. We've got an interesting application here. Public hearing, application 21011 to be heard in accordance with chapter 158, our demolition delay bylaw, 935 Queen Anne Road, Chatham Dragonfly. Interesting. Okay. Again, 935 Queen Anne Road, Old Queen Anne Road. And the property owner, I guess, is on the line here. And that the name of that gentleman who's going to present.
John Teriyaki, I'm the architect, and I'm here with Mr. Thiel, the property owner.
Okay, Mr. Thiel is on the line.
I believe he's joined the call, but I'm
Yes.
not sure. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, but John will be talking.
Okay, no, it just didn't indicate the applicant's agent, but that's fine, as long as you're there, Mr. Thiel. Welcome.
Thank
Okay,
you.
let me just give a couple of words for the public, put this thing in sense, in perspective. Somebody's got some background noise going on. Could you please eliminate that noise? Thank you. Shut your microphones off if you're not speaking. Thank you. This building looks like it dates from. Please turn your microphone off if you're not speaking. Thank you. This building dates from 1850 in accordance with the town records and with the Form B. We do have a Form B for the property, which is in your application from the applicant. Interesting structure, interesting location. A lot of people don't realize that that part of Chatham was kind of the center of Chatham for a while back in the 1800s. So the first order of business, Mr. Thiel, or whoever is presenting, is there any question from your perspective or any discussion of whether or not you feel the house is or is not historically significant? The process, which we do, to rather simplify things, is it's a two-step process. One, determine if the house is historically significant. If the commission determines that the structure is historically significant, then we move on to the issue of whether or not we approve the changes and whether or not a demolition delay would be imposed. If we don't feel it's historically significant, then obviously we don't have any authority and in terms of the application. So from your perspective as the applicant, do you wish to have any comments relative to whether or not the proposed home is not historically significant?
I don't believe we have any comments on that. We'll leave that up
Okay.
to the board.
Okay. All right. So let's dwell on that for a second, if we could, guys. Do we have any comments from the members of the board as it relates to the historical significance of the property?
I feel that it is significantly historic.
Okay.
I would agree.
All right. I would imagine we have a consensus, so we could move things along. If Mr. Lear, if you agree, would you put forward a motion?
Sure. I move that the Chatham Historical Commission find that the building located at 935 Old Queen Anne Road is historically significant because it is in whole or part 75 years old or more, and it is associated with one or more historical persons of the town, that is a whole bunch of Nickersons, and it possesses architectural value or significance in terms of period, style, and method of construction.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second, Jane.
All right, second, Jane. Any other discussion? Okay, we'll do a roll call. Bob,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes,
Ben,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes,
Jane,
Yes,
Don,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Okay, so Mr. Thiel, what we've done, eliminated, the part one element, so we could proceed relative to what you are proposing for this historically significant structure. I must have passed it 9 million times, but must be kind of hidden from the road a bit. So why don't you give us a sense, an overview of what you're planning to do?
Hi, I'm John Toriaki again. Mr. Thiel has asked me to go over the project and the architectural elements, if that's okay with the board. My company is located in Cohasset, Massachusetts, and we're an architectural design firm. And I can, I guess the drawings are already shared on the screen, so I'll just start with what you see on your screen, which shows the existing view of the house. We think that the most significant or historically significant part of the house is the prominent gable Greek revival structure, which is the tallest element. And it does have some really nice architectural details, very deep pilaster and frieze boards and cornice trim. And it's a very attractive historical piece. And we would really like to preserve that and still keep that as the top element in the architectural hierarchy. So the project is mostly concentrated behind the house. We're proposing to add a 2-story addition behind or on the south side of the house. And so you see the existing floor plan here. On the left side of the floor plan is that prominent gable roof that faces the street. And then towards the right or towards the east, you see these elongated parts that were probably added over time, with the kitchen piece probably being later in the timeline, although we don't exactly know how much later. But clearly, it probably was not built at the same time, which is fairly typical of historic homes. Here you see the second floor plan. There's an existing or 2 existing stairways, both of which are obviously not conforming with today's codes, but actually borderline dangerous. And then the middle portion of the plan you see has a very low headroom. So it's basically an attic space. And right behind that middle piece, towards the top of the plan, is where we would like to put an addition on. And the reason for that is that we would like the addition to be concealed essentially from the public street. And so by being in the back, it really would not be visible from Old Queen Anne Road at all. However, we do have to modify the middle portion of the house. So as you see on the front elevation at the bottom of your screen, that middle roof line, we would like to raise that roof line so that we can actually walk under there and utilize it as second floor space. And we would like to integrate a shed dormer into that new roof line. Other than that, the massing of the existing house will be undisturbed, especially on the gable roof side, which we think should be preserved as much as possible. But there are some issues with that as well. There are 2 windows on the first floor with no lights in them. And clearly that was not original. Either those sashes were replaced or modified over time. So we would like to restore 6/6 double hung windows to replace those. And then the 3 windows on the second floor of that A-frame roof, they're about 1 foot off the floor So they're really at the bottom of your feet when you're on the second floor, which is clearly not going to work with a renovated house. So we would like to replace those with 2 double hung windows that are appropriately located so that they can be used from the inside of the house and still look appropriate. And we would argue that they do. And then on the right of your screen, the kitchen wing, that has 3 windows that are not coordinated with each other. And that's where we would like to have the new kitchen as well. And we're proposing a grouping of 3 double hung windows that are equally sized to replace those windows.
Which ones are that? Just quickly again.
If you go back to the previous, so where the cursor was just a minute ago, the bottom right of your screen, there are 3 windows, 3 individual windows in that kitchen wing, and they're noted to be replaced.
Excuse me, Dave Dallas,
Yes, Frank.
how do you make that bar go away? Sorry, guys.
Okay, and then at the top of the screen on this shot, you see where the middle roof line that we're proposing to replace with a higher roof line, where that meets the Greek Revival mass. Obviously, that area would have to be modified to make that attachment, and that area has been factored into the area calculations of demolished areas. We can move on to the next 2 elevations. Similarly, the main changes are correcting the windows without lights, replacing them with more appropriately 6/6 double hung windows. And then the middle portion facing the backyard is where we are proposing our addition to come and meet the house. So that middle portion, first and second floor roof, would be modified to allow that attachment. So I'm not sure if there are any questions on this part of the process, or we can start talking about the proposed design if the board prefers.
Why don't you just segue into the proposed design and put it all in perspective, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you.
Sounds good. So the middle of the screen where the family room and a new stairway are shown, that's the proposed addition. It's a roughly 22 by 24 foot footprint with a gable roof and dormers on the second floor to continue the architectural language of the house. We're also proposing a small mudroom bump out behind the kitchen with a small covered porch facing a driveway. The driveway is at the back of the property currently, and that's where it's proposed to stay. The interior, again, I don't want to dwell too much on the interior floor plan because I know that exterior is more important, but essentially the existing historic parts of the house are preserved with some modifications and some openings, and the new open space is really the new addition. We can go on to the second floor plan, which shows the modified roof line in the middle with the shed dormer, which is the new or proposed hall bath shown on the plan. And then the new stairway leading to the second floor addition, which is essentially a master suite and a hallway extension to better utilize the existing wings of the house. So proposed front elevation at the bottom, you can see the new raised roof line in the middle and the shed dormer that I mentioned. You can see the 2 new double hung windows on the left side under that A-frame roof. And then on the bottom right side, you see the triple kitchen double hung window that we're proposing. And we're trying to continue the existing eave and fascia lines and trim lines as much as possible, and trying to utilize enhanced trim lines in the new addition as well, which we will start to see as we turn the corner. At the top of the screen, you see the side view of the mudroom and the porch addition we're proposing behind the structure. And then the existing kitchen wing is the same, except we are replacing one window. I'm talking about the top of the page where you see the second floor double hung. We're making that an egress window, so making it slightly bigger on the second floor. We can continue to the next set of elevations. So the bottom of the screen shows the end view of the proposed addition with the two shed dormers and the center gable roof. Again, trying to carry the same trim lines as much as possible. Obviously, it won't match 100%, but I don't think it needs to. We're trying to continue the same language and trying to create a harmonious composition at the end of the day. And then the top of the screen shows the side view of that rear addition with French doors and new double hung windows. Again, a lot of this side of the house is not going to be visible from the street. So I think that in essence is the proposal. We noted the exact square footages of demolished facade and roof areas on the application, along with some other data, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Frank, you're muted.
Okay, I was going to say thank you very much. Said thank you for a very thoughtful presentation. Very simply, we get everything from the back of an envelope to something as good as this. But I think there might be some questions. We do have Stephanie. I think your hand was up. Why don't you start? Steph?
I have a question about the chimney. Is the chimney being taken away?
Yes.
Okay, and another question was about the height. Is
Well-
any of it going to be the same height as the old house, the old part of the house?
Yes, so the proposed ridge line of the addition is going to match the ridge line of the existing, the taller part of the house that exists now.
That's a little bothersome because it takes away from the old house. Is there any way for it to be slightly lower?
Yeah, that's a really good point. We worked on that a little bit and we were struggling with headroom issues, but I think we can incorporate a slight adjustment, maybe it's 8 inches or so, and still get away with it. So we can certainly accommodate a drop, but it won't be a significant drop. I'm not sure how the board feels about that, but.
And is there any way of putting a faux chimney on? Because all the old houses had chimneys.
Yeah, our position generally that is, John, is that we, you know, if it's an antique house, it had a chimney. And we kind of like to, you know, you maintain a streetscape, you maintain a look, you worry about the 6/6 or 12/12, but you realize you're looking at a modern house, and it allows us. So if you would consider that,
Yes,
we would appreciate it.
yes, I'll put that in for you.
I'm sorry, who was that? Michael?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, somebody overspoke, I couldn't hear.
Yes, that was Michael Thiel.
Yeah, Mike Thiel.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll incorporate that for you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And
Now, I
just
have a quick question on that. Sorry to interrupt.
that's all right.
Would you be open to a different location for the new faux chimney? Just because I think the existing chimney, you can look at the photographs. I think its prominence is kind of arguable. Just
Yes.
given, you know, it's a little skinny. It's kind of hanging out there by itself. So if we create a new faux chimney, I wonder if we should make it a little more substantial and maybe relocate it. Would you be open to relocation and size changes?
You took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
great.
Yeah, incorporated more part of the more historic part of the house. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's no question we're putting an addition on an historic house. And it's the historic element of the house that would like to preserve the streetscape and everything else. So that's good. Thank you very much. Before we jump on, the ridge height, let's come back to that. But we do have a couple other questions. Steph, are you done for now?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Don?
Yeah, I have a question about loss of historic materials, obviously. The entire back wall of this middle section is going to be gone. The back wall of part of a good portion of the back wall of another portion of the house is going to be gone. The roof is going to be gone, but I don't think, and in addition, the area where the new windows are being put, where the old windows have been taken out, they're not both in the same place. I don't know that the calculations for the loss of historic materials are correct. And I'd like to see the actual numbers. Measurement of the house, of the roof of the house, that's going to be gone. The middle section. The back wall, or one of the walls where the addition is going to be gone. The areas around the windows are going to be gone. I don't want to see any surprises like we've had in other houses. So I would like to see actual details on what is going to be gone and what is going to be preserved.
I'm sure I'd be happy to elaborate on that. If you could scroll down to our existing facade drawings with the red outlines.
Well, that also brings the question. I don't know why we're changing the window sizes. If that's what's happening, it's hard for me to see.
Some of the window sizes are changing, but I just want to go over these red outlines because
right.
these are based from our CAD software, and everything that's outlined here is individually noted with its own square footage. So just to break down that total, and at the top right of each elevation, we have the total of material removed from that particular elevation side. So we have that noted, and the total of all of those is what's noted in the application, which is, I believe, 1,215 square feet, which does include everything, including the chimney and the roof areas measured on the plane of the roof, and the area of the roof removed from the side of the existing gable roof as well.
Well, let me ask you a quick question. This is Frank Messina. Sorry, Don. Where, for instance, in the AE21, where you of the existing elevation, where you show the windows in red, circled in red, does that red indicate the new size of the window, or just the fact? In other words, why go to the front part of the window on AE21 A. Existing elevation front. You've got 3 windows on top and you got 2 on the bottom. What are you doing with those 2 windows on the bottom?
We're just replacing them with identical windows that are 6/6, but we included the areas because at the end of the day, we are taking them out.
The same size opening?
Yes,
okay.
Those two are the same size.
That's what's a little confusing. So
well,
I think if you could note, I'm sorry, John, go ahead.
The 3 windows on the upper level of the main house are going to be gone.
Yes.
And then there's going to be some cutting into that wall for the 2 replacement windows. That's not reflected in the measurements. The 3 windows on the right are going to be gone, and 3 windows are going to replace them. But that's not reflected in the area that's going to be cut out to put those windows in. So there's more loss of historic material than I think is reflected. And the back wall of the middle section, is that been measured as being gone? Because that's now going to be an open space.
It is included. If you scroll to that, anything shown in red and broken down with individual areas is included in the calculation. And you can see that that back facade and wall totals about 535 square feet.
Well, Don, I don't,
I-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I don't see that back wall is, I see a red line.
It scrolls, it's like it includes the roof and the wall. It's a red line that encircles both of them.
Okay, I see that now.
Well, Don, just a quick, discussion between you and I is that I don't disagree with you. This is a significant amount of loss of historic material. But I guess, up front, we have to make a decision here. What are we saving? And, there's no question they're putting a significant addition to this house, and modernizing it. I do have some problems with it in the terms of the scope, but if we allow an addition, we're going to lose it. It's going to attach to the house, so
Yep.
it's going away. But what are our alternatives? Do you want to pursue that, Don?
I wait a minute. Okay.
No, my questions have been answered.
All right.
I have some
Ben?
question here. Only the part with the gable is truly certified historic. The central and kitchen parts were added on later, and we really don't have a date for those. So that we're talking about potentially non-historic portions of the house which are being tacked on to the historic portion of the house, so that even if you have loss of material, it's not potentially loss of historic material, because, as I say, the central and kitchen portion of the house are truly, even in our first determination here, been certified historic. But as the gable was, because the gable, there's no question it was 1850. The other two portions are unknown.
Well, that's not true, Ben.
What?
I mean, I don't see how you can jump to make that. If you look at, when you did your site visit, if you look at the original gable portion and the middle section, there's no question, it may not have been 1850, but certainly was built very early on. I would agree with you that the third section, the kitchen, may have been built later on, but it certainly was built before 1940s. So,
see, we're going from historic significance and documentation to guesstimation, and that's always, to me, tenuous.
Well, that's historic preservation. There's nothing scientific about this at all.
Well, I don't know, Frank. When you used to work on those missiles, I hope you didn't guess much.
Well, that was because it was science. How I got from engineering into historic preservation is an interesting leap. But Ben, I hear what you're saying. I don't disagree completely with you that, the third section of the house may be less historically significant than the middle or the original, but I don't think we made a determination, and that's not generally what we do, and say, the first 2/3 of the house are historically significant and the third part is not. So but I don't disagree with your philosophy.
We did that on that house on Old Harbor that's down on the hill that's being renovated, and they're doing a nice job.
Yeah.
But be that as it may, that's just my thought. We have a documented portion and a quasi-documented portion, so to speak. Okay.
All right. I don't see any more hands up, so I have a couple. I'm sorry.
Frank, it's Bob.
All right, Bob, go ahead.
Just, I guess, mainly a comment. When looking, or the standards or the guidelines that we got from the Cape Cod Commission when looking at additions, stress that it ought to be separated in some ways so it isn't an attempt to either overwhelm the house or make that part look old when it really isn't. And therefore, the way it is set off in the back is appropriate. the agreement to lower it 8 inches is also appropriate. I think it fits those standards. What I guess troubled me when I was looking at the elevations is which they must, I guess, show a giant mass. But if you look at the footprint, and the calculations are that it's expanded by 58%, which is a lot, but we've had others that are larger additions. So yes, it's big, but its location and the way it is set off, it doesn't really bother me.
I would agree with you. Okay, I have some comments, and if anybody else wants to speak before I jump in. All right, John, if I may, I want to try and hone in some specifics, if you don't mind. I think we have consensus on the chimney, and if you could provide a drawing, revised drawing showing location, size. What happens here, John, just so you know, assuming we're going to approve this, we need a revised set of drawings which reflect exactly what we're going to do. And then we sign off on those drawings and they go to the building department. And when you go for your building permit, they check what we approve versus what you decide to do. And your building permit is issued based upon the concurrence with the Historical Commission. It's now time for me to make a speech. We're coming on a discussion of a stop work order of a property that was historic, in which the applicant went beyond what was approved. So you have to be very careful. We're talking to you, the architect. We have the homeowner. We don't have the contractor on board here. So you know, we just are cautioning you. Please turn your microphone off, please. Whoever. Thank you. We try to provide in the nicest way a caution to help the project move forward, and just let you know, if you have any problems when you open up a wall, we understand that. You open it up and you don't know what the hell is there, and then you got problems. It's a simple phone call to the building department, to the community development, and I guarantee you somebody will be out there very quickly to say what the problem is. And as long as we have a sense of it, 99 out of 100 times we'll come to some very quick conclusion and either allow something to proceed or come to some consensus. I'm sorry to give you this speech, but we just have to do it. You know, we don't keep somebody on site watching you, but when you have a house which is historic, we really would like you to acknowledge, and I think you do, by your sense of your application, the historical significance of yourself and the owner of this property. All right, my speech is over. All right, the chimney we discussed. I also would like to see, before we sign off, assuming this is going to be approved, you know, drawings reflected the ridge height change, 8 inches or a foot, whatever you can do. I think it will make a significant removing the mass, because quite honestly, that addition is significant. And I'll be honest with you, one of the problems I have when I look at 821, your front elevation, you mentioned why you're getting rid of those 3 windows, about them being off the floor, but I think the windows that you're proposing are larger than the windows below it, and I would really prefer, from my point of view, that you reduce the size. If you have to go to 2 windows, and you don't have to, you could go to 3 and still maintain it, just lift them up, or go to 2 windows and keep the size the same. I mean, it's not like you're looking out at the ocean.
Right, I believe that was more of a bedroom egress window issue, but we can look at other.
That's not an issue, by the way. A lot of architects use that. There's no issue of egress from that perspective.
But there's a certain, since we're redoing substantial amounts of the second floor, I think the building department would want to see egress compliant bedroom windows. That's my assumption, but we can certainly ask them.
Well, you could ask that question.
Okay.
I know somebody used that a couple of times, and the building department said that's not the issue. Okay. I don't know. But I'm not a electrical, not contractor. So if you could look into that and,
Okay.
just let us know. I appreciate it.
Okay.
The second or third thing that I have is that gable in the front. Do you really need it? Because it really overwhelms the front of the house. And I know you're trying very hard to maintain the balusters and the wide trim, but it just kind of jumps out at you, the front of the house.
Do you mean the dormer, the shed dormer?
Yeah.
Um,
It just is somewhat inconsistent with the architecture of the front that we're trying to preserve.
I mean, I think you can argue either way. You can also argue that that roof is so long, it's such a
Yep.
long wing that it may help to break that up a little bit. But as part of our ridge height drop, we can also drop the roof line of that dormer to play down its scale, so that it
That's
may
a
be
good
joined.
idea.
Yeah, that may address that issue, and we
Yeah,
can
that's
show
a
that.
good idea.
Okay.
If you could do that. And I agree. The third section, you're carrying, I guess you could set back the roof so it's not one particular line, but yeah, if you could do that, if you could take a look at that, I'd appreciate that personally. That's my sense.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Any member of the public would like to speak for or against this application?
Frank, it's Jane.
Yes, Jane.
Is it possible, in looking at the shed dormer, have you considered making it a gable dormer?
It's a good point.
We have. I think our concern with that was possibly calling too much attention away from the original gable and having a slight tension with having a second gable that's maybe 2/3 the size. And the third concern was not show that as if it's like a front entry designator, because there is an existing original door under it, the second door. So those were the reasons why we wanted to play it down and make it a little more horizontal and to kind of have it disappear as much as possible.
All right, I get that. I would agree with Frank about the two windows in the original part, the original gable. I think that the two windows are too big, and I would prefer to see it the way it is, with three smaller windows.
Okay, we could proceed in a couple of ways here. I believe, if I'm reading the tea leaves, we generally have consensus to approve this application with.
Frank,
Yes, sir.
it's done. I would like to continue this until we get revised drawings.
Well, that was my speech, Don.
Oh, okay.
I think you should be chairman next year.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I was about to say, thank you, Don. We have two ways to proceed. We could vote now, or we could ask the applicant to come back and provide the revised drawings. We have a meeting in 2 weeks, Michelle?
Yes.
June 1st.
Yes, the next meeting is June 1st. Jane's correct.
John, Mr. Thiel, is that agreeable to you?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the cooperation. Again, thank you very much for your application. You guys did a nice job in trying to help and preserve most of the historical integrity of this property. So
Frank?
what we'll do is this particular point is we'll ask for a motion to continue the application to June 1st.
Frank?
Yes, ma'am. Who's talking?
Sandy?
Yes, Sandy.
I do have a comment and I do have a question for you. Are we, rather than have these are we saying that we really want to see the three windows instead of the two windows in the front?
I think what we did is we allowed some latitude to go back and take a look at it.
Okay.
We're not
All right.
we're not taking a vote, yes or no. I think what we
Right,
did is
but-
make some general suggestions to the applicant and ask him to go back and take a look. I don't think
Okay.
anybody has indicated that these suggestions were non-starters or showstoppers. So we wanted them to take a look at some things and provide some kind of an option that we can consider next meeting. Did I
Okay, fine.
state that correctly, John?
I believe so. And I wanted to make one quick comment about the windows. If we can scroll back to the existing photographs of the application, I think it's towards the beginning of the PDF. If that can be shared on the screen real quick. It's A0.3, which has the existing photographs.
Do you see it yet? I'm there on my screen. I just want to make sure.
I'm not seeing it yet on my screen, but
I'm seeing it. I have it in front of me.
okay. I just want to point out the backside of that gable actually does have two windows currently. Interestingly, they're
Yes.
smaller than our proposed windows. So that is the back view of that existing gable piece. So on the back, it has two double hungs. On the front, it has three double hungs that are lower. And so we could try to get closer to the back view and see if we can make the double hung smaller. But the fact that two windows does exist on the back of that same piece, I think is historically is probably a good sign.
Okay.
Just wanted to mention that.
No, that's a good point. Thank you. So there technically
Yeah.
is egress on the back of the bedroom then?
I don't think those are compliant right now. And interestingly, we are actually changing those two windows. But I just want to point out that you know the house has both languages, and we're
Yes.
the fact that we want to change the 3 to 2 and the 2 to 1, hopefully will be acceptable.
All right, great. Okay, if there's no other questions, Bob and Don, if you could lower your hands so I can see if nobody else wants to speak. Okay, Bob, can you give me a motion to continue?
Yes, I move that the Historical Commission grant a continuance to June 1st, 2021, with the concurrence of the applicant.
I second it.
Second,
All right, that was Sandy seconding. All
Yes.
right, no other comments? Mr. Lear,
Aye, yes.
Sandy,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes,
Stephanie,
Yes,
Jane,
yes,
Don,
Yes,
and the chair votes yes. John and Mr. Thiel, thank you very much. Mr. Thiel, are you new to Chatham?
No, I've lived here most of my whole life.
Okay,
Frank, the Thiels have been neighbors of ours in the old village, so.
Yeah,
okay.
I told Mr. Aikman for a long time.
All right, I'm sorry about that. All right, well, thank you very much. And
Thank you very much.
again, John, thank you very much for your application. Your first time before us?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, well, John is, yes.
Yeah, mine is.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Great.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. We go to old business and there's a grumpy looking guy with his arms crossed. Hello, David. Smile. All right.
buddy.
We don't have any new business items, but we have an old business item which we need to address. Give me a second. All right. You have in your packet a number of things which we provided. The subject is the 216, 220 Main Street. For the public's information, this is a home in the Old Village National Register District in which a determination was arrived at The work was started by the applicant, Mr. Gelfman. Uh, Unfortunately, some things happened, and work proceeded beyond the approved determination without notification to the Historical Commission or to the building department, the building inspector, or community development. When it was found out that that work was exceeded significantly beyond which was approved, a stop work was issued, and unfortunately, it's still going on. And we hopefully here today would like to resolve the status of that stop work and a recommendation back to the building inspector, and as to whether or not the historical commission agrees or disagrees with the proposal to attempt to obviate some of the efforts which were done, specifically loss of some historical material, a lot of historical material, and how to remedy the situation as best we can. The historical commission at our last meeting came to a determination, and I think the minutes reflected it pretty good, that we were putting the issue of recommending a fine aside and hope that the work could be a restoration of the facade of the building could occur. The commission also indicated it wanted to attempt to indicate that the applicant had to use antique materials, specifically the sheathing, but we were going to take the advisement of the building inspector, Mr. J. Briggs. There was a meeting between myself, Katie Donovan, the Director of Community Development, Michelle Clark, our staff assistant, and Mr. Briggs. And it was determined by the building inspector he did not or would not allow that use of antique material on the sheathing boards. He was concerned about the wind shear, et cetera, et cetera. This house is very close to the ocean. So I met with Mr. Gelfman, and I try to understand what was going on and offer some suggestions of what could or could not happen. Mr. Gelfman explained to me, which is included in your package, the narrative of who shot John and what happened, and attempting to find some compromise here so we can proceed. I used Mr. Briggs wanted the commission to opine on the subject, and so that's why we're here. You know, generally the commission does offer the chairman, myself, some latitude in making these decisions without coming back to the full commission. But, you know, I think we use some subjectivity here relative to the extent in which a decision was made unilaterally. The historical commission ourselves, we instituted an administrative review process, which included not just the chairman alone, but the vice chair and one other member of the commission. I called upon Mr. Aikman and Mr. Lear to comment on the attachments which you have, which show what's there now. Again, the narrative, what was proposed and approved, and what Mr. Gelfman now is proposing to do. And I asked him for some detailed drawings as best he could, which delineate the what he could do. It's just further complicated by the fact that there's some internal changes which were made to the building in relation to stairways, which forced some exterior changes, which if we would have known when we had the application, it probably wouldn't have been an issue, but we are now in a different situation. So, having said that, I think I got that pretty well correct. David, you agree?
Yes.
Thank you very much. David Gelfman is here. He is the owner of the property. I had a brief conversation and an email exchange with Mr. Aikman, and he agrees, I won't speak for him, that, you know, at this particular point, we probably should move on. And Don, I'd let you speak for yourself if you would like to say a couple of words.
Yeah, Frank, great presentation. I totally agree with what you've said. And yes, I think it's time to approve. My opinion is approve the proposed sheathing, the covering of the front portion with the clapboards at low or minimum amount of exposure, and have the building department lift the stop work order.
Bob?
Yes, Frank, I sent a memo to Michelle last week on the subject. I basically agree with what's been said. I think there is a rational basis for the window changes on the north and south sides for the reasons you mentioned. And also, if the designer had done a thorough job at the time of doing the design, we would have known that these changes were necessary from the beginning and probably no problem. As to the front facade, I think the option is to take it back to the original look as he has described in his narrative. But I was troubled when I went out there. I looked at the windows and doors on 216 as compared to or contrasted to the approved drawings, and there were a number of changes made there too. And it's sort of in your face kind of thing. I don't know why we bother to have plans and get them approved if people don't have to follow the plans and there's no consequence. So I would be recommending a significant fine to let the public know that we mean what we say and we're here for a reason.
Well, okay, let me break that up into two parts then. As far as what he's proposing in the drawings that he submitted, what's the name? Ally, do you have those drawings?
I don't, but Michelle might.
Okay, so you all have them. I'll put them up. They're the drawings that, whoops, yeah, they're the drawings you have, the three drawings which reflect what Mr. Gelfman now, is going to do for those three elements of the building. And if we have consensus, I'm trying to divide your comments, Bob, into two parts. If we have consensus that the commission agrees to lift the stop work based upon Mr. Gelfman's agreement to restore it in accordance with those three drawings. And by the way, David, I guess you're aware, nothing's going to happen until you submit a revised building permit application to the building department, for the internal changes. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you and I are on the same wavelength.
Yeah,
I wasn't aware of that, but Jay Briggs mentioned that to me, that's got to happen before anything happens. So,
Yeah.
we're just one part of the plane. So,
Frank, may I ask a question? It's Steph.
absolutely.
I have my hand
Go right ahead.
up. The newspaper said that there was a fine being put on $300 a day.
No, the
That is
paper.
not right. That's confusing me.
Yes.
There was there?
No, we agreed at our previous meeting that, assuming that the other conditions were made, we would not impose a fine.
So the
or-
newspaper was wrong.
Right. By the way, let me spend a second. I'm sorry to drag this on, guys, but it's important because this is a problem for us in the town. When I had a conversation with Jay, and we might have another meeting with Mr. Briggs to discuss this whole concept. In fact, it's on our agenda, which is the process and options for non-compliance and determination. I asked about fines, and I know there's a little bit of a disagreement. Don, who's been around longest than anybody as far as the commission's concerned, indicated there were times when fines were imposed by the historical commission, under a previous administration. The current director of community development doesn't concur with the ability for us to do that. That is, in her opinion, up to the building department, specifically Mr. Briggs, to do that. But that's a separate discussion. That the second issue from Jay's perspective, as far as fines are concerned, he's looking for compliance first. If he can get compliance, he doesn't want a fine. the other thing, quite honestly, which is kind of a little bit annoying, lots of times there are fines and the applicants appeal the fines. They go to the court and the court, it says if there's compliance, then what are we fining for? So it's kind of a mixed thing. And I would like to have that for a separate discussion. Having said that, a long-winded answer to your question, Stephanie, no, we discussed not to put fines in. Sorry, I'm giving you circle logic here. So if we agree amongst ourselves and there's consensus to allow this to proceed, and that's item 1. Item 2 is whether or not Bob has brought up the issue, notwithstanding his compliance, that he still wants to see some kind of a fine imposed upon the applicant. And again, that could be a recommendation to the building department if the commission now votes to do that. So I'm going to separate, assuming we have consensus of compliance in accordance with those 3 drawings. Let's discuss the issue of within the commission of whether or not the commission members feel that a recommendation that a fine should be imposed by the building department. So I'll start with you again, Mr. Lear.
Well, I told you my position. It's not the first time this kind of issue has come up, and the house is 6 feet off of Main Street. It's sort of like brazen, and I don't know how else you're going to put a stop to it.
Okay. Sandy? Sandy, you're muted.
Okay, I actually happen to agree with Bob.
Okay. Ben? Mr. Solozinski?
No, you presented me with a stop work order, or lack of a better term, stopping the stop order or work order. What are the other alternatives besides the fine? We don't really have a choice. We can't leave the building hanging out in the breeze here. So,
well, we have agreed to lift the stop work, Ben.
To speak, so.
We have?
Well, I believe we have consensus. I haven't taken a vote yet, but I'm reading the tea leaves. So I think we have consensus of the majority of the commission to end the stop work. At least it was me and myself, Bob.
I don't agree.
I don't agree either.
I don't agree.
All right, hold on, guys. One thing at a time. All right, so you want it. Hold on.
Suppose we don't agree.
Hold on. Wait till you're recognized, please. Thank you very much. The chair is going to exercise some discretion here. We can't have a group grope. One at a time. Ben, you were speaking.
Yeah, okay. What are the alternatives if we don't agree to stop the stop work order? There isn't any other alternative.
The building department, let me explain it this way. The building department, the commissioner, is asking for a recommendation from the historical commission. It's still his decision. It's not our decision, okay? But he wants us, the historical commission, to give him a recommendation. I garnered up attempt to move this along because it can't go on forever. I used our administrative review process and asked Don and Bob to take a look at it, and they concur, and I concur that we probably can proceed and allow the stop work to be moved. Bob agreed with that, except he now wants to add part 2. And even though we agree that stop work is removed, but he still wants a fine. So that's where we are. We were discussing the issue of a fine. Now, if you would like to, because some members jumped in, not being recognized by the chair, and said they don't agree. So we have a little bit of mishigash here. So we're going to go backwards. We're going to ask for a vote, a motion to lift the stop work, independent of the subject of fines, or subject to the condition of fines.
Well,
Yes or
my
no?
question is if we,
Ben, it's hard to hear you. Can you get closer to the microphone?
am I close enough now?
Yeah, now you are. I'm sorry, Ben.
If we don't agree to lift the stop work order, what are our other alternatives? Just gonna leave the building the way it is?
No.
We don't have a choice.
Oh, that's correct. That's correct. And it's up to the building department. The building commissioner is not going to let this stay the way it is. There has to be something to happen. The building has to be made tight. The building has to be structurally, put back together. We can't leave it the way it is.
So
The only
basically, he's asking us to rubber stamp what he's gonna do anyway.
rubber stamp what, Ben?
To stop the stop work order. So he
No,
can
no, I'm
proceed.
sorry, Ben. Excuse me for your, I hate to use the word, well, I don't want to use the word, your comment. That's not true. There was a negotiation of what the applicant could do to bring it back to as close as he could to the original location. And the building department asked for a consensus of the commission of whether or not they agree that those three drawings were acceptable. If that was acceptable to the commission, then the building department would lift the stop work. So the first question is, are those three drawings acceptable to the commission to proceed? Does
Right.
that make sense?
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Yeah, I think we're just going around in a circle here.
You betcha. You betcha.
I'm just, when I look at stuff is if you present a question to me, I want to know what the alternative is, and we don't have an alternative here. So
Well,
let's
we
just
do.
go ahead and
We do,
do
Ben.
it. And
Ben, that's not true, Ben. We do have an alternative. The alternative is what we recommend to the building department. So look, I'm going to go backwards because there seems to be some consternation among the members. And the first question very simply is, do the members of the commission concur with the proposed drawing as a way to bring the building back to near its original approved condition? And then we'll discuss stop work and fines.
Frank, this is Don. I move that we lift the stop work order.
Do we have a second?
What, a question, I guess, is that assuming that the work is done in accordance with the proposal?
I think that would be appropriate, Don.
Yes.
All right. So if I could restate your application, correct me, your motion. You move that we recommend to the building department that the stop work be removed and that the applicant proceed in the restoration in accordance with the three drawings provided, which will properly notate with date and time, et cetera, et cetera.
Correct.
Did we have a second on that?
I'll second it, Bob.
All right. So we got a motion from Don. God, you guys are tough. From Don and seconded by Bob. Again, one more time, to remove the stop work, assuming that the applicant would restore the building in accordance with those three drawings. It doesn't address fines. It just removes the stop work and the applicant proceeding. All right. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Now's your chance, ladies, gentlemen.
Frank, this
Who's
is
that?
Jane.
Jane?
I did not get the drawings in my packet, so
I
I
did
can't
not.
vote. I can't vote.
This is Steph also. I did not get the drawings in my packet.
Michelle?
This is Sandy. I didn't get them in mine either.
Frank,
Michelle?
we had a conversation about this, and the way I understood it, and forgive me if I'm incorrect, was that you were going to. You were gonna.
So we only sent it to Don and Bob. All right.
Right, yes. Administrative review style.
Do you have the drawings, Michelle? Put them on the screen.
Give me a couple of minutes. I can try and find them. I don't have them scanned in.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to now look at them on the screen. All right, while we do that, there'll be a break in the action. I would propose that we take a 5-minute adjournment while
Frank, may
Michelle
I
gets
say
herself
something?
together.
May I say something, Frank? This is one of the reasons I didn't agree with the administrative decisions.
Well, okay, well, you guys just spoke up now. I wish you would have
No,
told
I
me
spoke
earlier.
up before.
No, not that you didn't get the drawings. So we got a 5-minute adjournment. I'll see you guys at the 11:45. Thank you.
I'd just like to say I'm still here. I lost my computer link somehow.
Hang in there, David. We're taking a
Yeah, no,
5-minute break.
I'm fine. I lost my computer somehow here. On.
Thank you very much. The Chatham Historical Commission is continuing its May 18, 2021 commission meeting. We took a brief 5-minute recess. I'm getting an echo, Dallas. Is that my phone or? Well, anyway, let's proceed. Okay. Are other people getting echoes or just me?
I am.
I am.
Dallas, can you help us on that?
Me too.
All right.
Well, I'm
Okay.
no echo.
Yeah, I'm on it. If you're not speaking, just mute your phone and camera.
All right. All right, guys. You got that from Dallas. If you're not speaking, turn your camera off and turn your microphone at a minimum, turn it off. Okay? Thank you. All right. Here we go. What I'm about to ask Michelle to show you are the information. Michelle, what do you have? Do you have it all? You have all the drawings?
I have the 3 proposed elevations.
All right. Do you have the other ones too?
The other ones being the originally approved, or?
The picture. Yeah.
No, I only I can go scan the whole packet if you'd like. I don't have.
No,
them all
let's
saved.
let's proceed with this. Let's proceed with this.
So
Okay.
I think everyone had the pictures in their last packet. The
Right.
only new drawings were the 3 pages that Mr. Gelfman provided as his proposed
right. That's
plan.
good. That's good. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the public, what you see here are the first drawing is the as Mr. Gelfman put it out. It's a render of the reconstructed facade with the window spacing to reproduce the original layout and 3.5-inch exposure clapboard to recreate the original. So the big issue here was the facade of the structure, the streetscape, and that's what Mr. Gelfman has agreed to replace it exactly. This was lost. This was lost during the unfortunate demolition. So he is replacing or will replace it exactly the way it was, so it would look exactly the same. That's the first drawing. Any questions on that drawing? Raise your hand. I see no hands raised. Okay. The next drawing is the on 2020 the North Gable. In this case, the change was there were 2 windows up top, and because the applicant relocated a stairwell, which you see there, the 2 windows which were in the original drawing, in the original building, he removed the 2 windows and replaced it with 1 window. Again, you still doing the 6x6. As Don pointed out and Bob pointed out, if the applicant had told us this during the original application, we probably would approve it because it's not that significant. And we wanted to let them have a staircase to the 2nd floor bedroom, which he's now adding. So that's the second one. The building profile is exactly original, illustrates the stair and window relationship. As you see on the note on the bottom, the grill trim, the flat, the trim. Does anybody have any questions? I see Mr. Gelfman, you have a question.
I just wanted to clarify, I didn't move the staircase. I just am proposing to make it code compliant. That's where the staircase has always been. It just was a vertical, Cape Cod staircase.
Yeah.
And so
I got you. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, that is a problem when we do site visits on some of these historic houses, and you look at some of these staircases and you wonder, they must have been a hell of a lot healthier back in the 17 and 1800s to go up and down those stairs. But okay, Any other members of the commission or public have any questions on that drawing? Okay. The third element is the south side gable. And this is where there were, let me find out where it is. There were 4 windows. I think it was 4. Yeah, there were 4 windows, and Mr. Gelfman proposed, and 2 of the windows were really barely seen anyway. So he proposed to change it to 2 windows rather than the 4. So those are the 3 changes. Does anybody have any comment or question as it relates to the ability for us to approve or provide an opinion to the building department that these unfortunately necessary changes are acceptable to the commission?
Frank,
I don't know. Yes, ma'am. Who is that?
Jane, I prefer the look of 2 windows above and 2 windows below.
Okay, so that's a yes. Okay.
Oh, no, it isn't a yes. I don't like the look.
Oh, you don't like the 2 windows?
No, I prefer the 4 the way they were.
Okay. All right. So we got Jane with 2 windows. Okay. Is it a showstopper for you?
I'm probably going to abstain.
Okay.
I don't know. It would,
right.
it almost is.
I understand. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. All right, Mr.
Well,
Lear,
I
you have a
looked at
question.
the drawings and I didn't, I don't like what happened.
Well, nobody likes what happened, Jane. We're just trying to move forward. Trust me, this is unpleasant for everybody.
I get it, but you asked what I thought about it.
No, I'm with you, Jane. I'm trying to move this along. Bob, you want to say something?
Yes, I have a question based on something you said earlier today about the need for egress windows. Mr. Gelfman, in his narrative, and I'm talking about the south side now, said that those single windows were put in for egress reasons. And I thought you had mentioned, or no, it was Mr. Teriyaki mentioned that that's not necessarily the case, or?
Yeah, this is something, quite honestly, when the commission has nothing to do with its life, we ought to have the building commissioner come before us, because he said, well, that's not necessarily the case in an historic house, that you have to make changes for so-called egress. That it's one of these subjective issues of the building commissioner's latitude when he deals with historic houses and changes. Developers and contractors love to say that, well, we got to make it to code. Well, that's not always the case, so, but it's very subjective. I probably should.
Well, it is not, as you asked before, it's not a showstopper for me. I don't really mind the 2 single windows, but if that was the reason, I think we might have second thoughts.
Yeah. Okay. David?
Yeah, I think that the egress window comment now, I'm not positive of this, but upstairs and downstairs, those are bedrooms, not bathrooms. I think that a bathroom doesn't have to have an egress window, but a bedroom does.
I think you're right. I think that's the issue. Yeah.
I would just say, I wouldn't want my child in there, right?
No,
if there was an issue.
All right. Okay. All right. Those are the 3 drawings. Now, there was Sandy, Stephanie, and Jane, and Ben. Now, have we at least satisfied your issue as it relates to having the drawings, seeing the drawings?
I have a question, Frank.
Yes, sir, Ben.
Who is the contractor here?
It was a couple of guys, but Ben, David, why don't you answer the question? Can I ask you what the purpose of the question is?
Well, the purpose of the question is, I have a question. Who is the contractor here?
Well, can I ask you what the purpose of the question is? Can I ask you what the purpose of the question is? Can I ask you what the purpose of the question is? Can I ask you what the purpose of the question is? Can I ask you what the purpose of the question is? Can I ask you what the purpose of the question is? Can I ask you what the purpose of the question is? Can I ask you what the purpose of the question is? Can I ask you what the purpose of the question is? Can I ask you what the purpose of the question is? Can I ask you what the purpose of the question is? Can I ask you what the purpose of the question is? Can I ask you what the purpose of the question is? Can I ask you what the purpose of the question is? Can I ask you what the purpose of the question is? Can I ask you what the purpose of the question is? Can I ask you what the purpose of the question is? Can I ask you what the purpose of the question is? Can I ask you what the purpose of the question is? Can I a
if you're getting fines and, who are the culprits here? David seems to be
that's Ben. Ben, that's Ben. Excuse me, Ben. That's way above our pay grade. You know, who's a fine? The applicant.
Is it a
The
point of
applicant.
information though?
No, but the applicant is responsible.
I'm not gonna do anything about it. I just want to know who it is.
Yeah, I'm sure the applicant is responsible. David's raising his hand again.
Yeah, I'm responsible. My builder basically acted through my direction, although with it being COVID times, I wasn't on site, so I'm not going to duck the responsibility. The builder.
Well, I didn't think you. All right, okay. So basically, you're going to take the rap for the builder. Okay, thanks, David.
That's all. He wouldn't have.
Okay. All right, guys, we're killing this. Let's move along. So,
Frank,
are the three ladies who didn't get the drawing satisfied?
I am, Jeff.
Thank you, Steph.
Frank,
I am.
Frank,
one at a time. Who's talking?
I said that I was okay with the drawings.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Steph. Sandy?
Frank?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm okay with the drawings.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Man, you guys are killing me. Here we go. All right. So I think what we were trying to do when we got so close, we were trying to work on Don, your motion. Did I get that straight? It was Don Aikman made a motion to remove the stop, to recommend to the building department to remove the stop work as long as the applicant proceeds to perform the work in accordance with the drawings. Did I get that right, Don?
I think so. I think so, yes.
And that was seconded by Mr. Lear. Okay.
Correct.
If there's no other comments from the public or the members of the commission, we will now take a vote on that motion. Mr. Lear?
Yes.
Sandy? Sandy, you're muted. Sandy, you're muted. Sandy, you're muted. You're still muted, Sandy. Go ahead. All right, go ahead. No, you're good now. Go ahead, Sandy.
She's still muted.
Muted.
Sandy, it's a yes or no. Sandy, if it's a yes, raise your hand. Sandy, can you hear me? Sandy, can you hear me?
Now I can, and yes, I'm okay.
Thank you.
Yes, I vote yes.
All right. Ben?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Jane?
Abstain.
Don?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. You're killing me. Okay, so, Mr. Lear, you still want to pursue the fining issue?
I'd like to see it pursued with the building department. If community development is telling us we can't do it, then I think we go to the building department and see what the building commissioner wants to do.
All right, well, then we have to provide some guidance to the building department. In all seriousness, Near, we have to put this thing into concluded. Do we need to have a discussion relative to an additional recommendation to the building department as it relates to some kind of a fining of the situation? We could do that. Again, this is a hold on, let me finish. This is binding in the sense that it's a comment, an opinion from the commission to the building department. So I'm going to make a informal motion that we
Frank, could I say something now?
Well, let me finish the motion. Thank you. That I would make a motion that the building department consider the application of a fine on 22216 Main Street as a result of the loss of historic material and the previous non-compliance with the determination. How's that sound, Mr. Lear?
I'll second that.
All right, so we have a motion, it's seconded. Now we will have a discussion. Jane?
Frank, this is my turn to make a speech.
Go ahead.
We have had in the past several stop work orders, as Don referred to, and we have fined for it. So either we have a rule or we don't. And if we have a rule, we should enforce it. And the other thing is, we have spent a lot of time on the rezoning laws to preserve historic structures. And if we do not enforce the rules that we have, it negates all the work that we've done on zoning. That is the end of my speech.
Well, I've been on the commission 15, maybe 16, 17 years. I don't think we've ever imposed a fine while I was a member of the commission.
Yes, we
talked
have.
about
And Don remembers I've been on it since 2007.
Well, I got a few more years on you, but that's okay. I hear what you're saying. All right, we'll continue on the vote. Jane, was that a yes or a no?
For imposing, I can't remember what the motion was.
The motion is to recommend to the building department to consider fining.
Yes.
Okay. Don?
Yes.
Stephanie? Steph, did I lose your kid? Steph?
I'm sorry, I
Miss-
lost power. I'm here again. Yes,
Stephanie? Yes,
Yes.
so you want to consider fine, that they
Yes.
should consider fining. Ben?
I don't think that fining of $300 a day is significant. My preference would be to use the local shaming in the newspaper for
All right.
people who break these rules. I think it'll be just
All right,
as
at this point,
as a fine that's not significant.
so it's a no.
It's
Okay,
a no.
yes, all right. All right, and Mr. Lear? I assume it's a yes, Bob? But you need to say it. Did we lose Mr. Lear? Boy, it's a tough one. Bob? Bob? Michelle, could you give him a quick call, see if he's...
Sure.
Thank you, Michelle. God, this meeting's taking forever. While waiting for Mr. Lear, the chair votes no.
You gonna ask me, Frank?
I'm going down my list. You think this is easy?
Okay.
Sandy?
I never said it was easy.
Sandy?
I think we should impose.
Yes.
We should
Okay.
recommend, yes.
I'm going to, because this got a little confusing. Messina voted no. Mr. Lear, we're waiting to hear from. Sandy votes yes. Ben votes no. Steph votes yes. Jane votes yes. Don votes yes. Bob? I guess technically we have to wait. Bob?
I did reach Bob. He's having trouble getting back in. He's working on it currently. He says he'll be right there.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I
Frank?
think we, yes,
It's a yes, I'm sorry.
yes,
My
okay.
screen went blank.
All right, we're good. So the motion passes 5 yes, 2 no's to recommend to the building department to consider the issue of fining. Okay, to put this thing in perspective before we completely leave it, we just voted to ask the building commissioner to raise the to lift the stop work order because the applicant is going to return it to conditions that we approved in this drawing. Did you get that, Dave? The second part of that was that the commission majority voted to have the building commissioner consider finding. I would set, because we're having a roundabout discussion on this thing, that I would propose that the building inspector and Ms. Donovan, Katie Donovan, the Director of Community Development, at a future date, pretty quickly, to ask them to please come before the Historical Commission and give us a lecture, if you will, on the limits of our authority and the current interpretation of the current administration in relation to the ability of the Historical Commission to levy fines. Okay, thank you very much. Oh my good, it's 11:15. We're approaching 2:30. I'm going to move rather quickly because I think I've had enough of this, and assume you have too. Let me go through it quickly, unless somebody has something on the agenda that's really you need to discuss. The second item, Michelle, can we push that off, the revised application?
Sure.
Okay. The issue of compliance of determination, it's the same discussion we're going to have with the Katie and the building department. Stephanie, we're going to push that off, okay, Steph?
Okay, the only thing I'm going to say is that Katie's never returned my calls, so I can't work with her.
Katie who? Katie Donovan?
Yes.
All right,
I've
Michelle.
tried to call her and she hasn't called me back.
All right, Michelle, if you could let her know that. Okay.
Yeah, she did know you phoned the other day, Steph, and I thought she did try and phone you, but I'll follow up with her tomorrow.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Ally, we dragged you through this meeting. I guess there's nothing new to add, except we have a meeting with the planning board coming up, right?
That is correct. We have a meeting on the 24th with the planning board to discuss the bylaw.
All right. That's next Monday. In this case, just so you know, we had a meeting with the ZBA. Now this is a follow-up meeting with the planning board. Being it's so close to town meeting, everybody's busy, so it's going to be an informational meeting following the town meeting and before somebody leaves for her vacation. We hope we will set up some kind of a schedule. Is that okay with you, Ally?
That's fine with me, Frank.
Okay. The boathouse remains, I can't really add much to it other than the fact that we're waiting for the town to complete its engineering on the location of the boathouse as the upweller. Don, do you have anything you can add to that?
No, Frank, I don't have anything new.
Okay, but we're staying close to it. I think the Preservation Awards meeting on Sunday was really good. I'd like to congratulate all of the winners. I'd like to thank the members of the commission. I'd like to thank Sandy and Michelle and of course the Historical Society, Ally and Kevin Wright. I think they did a good job in considering everything that needs to it. God, I hope next year we can do it live, be a lot less work. Okay, so it was fine, and I think we got to be proud of ourselves and acknowledge, as much as we beat ourselves up with our losses, guys, we do get some wins. So let's take some comfort in that. South Chatham National Register District, I'm continue to work with Eric Dre on his response to their comments. When I say work with him, I just nudge him every now and then and ask him how things are going. So we're hoping to remove. The only thing I would like to just comment briefly is on the status of demolition delays, which you all got. Does anybody have any questions on that? Seaview Street, obviously they're going to be moving ahead on a new project. 26 Cockle Cole has been demolished, and there are two pretty large houses being built around the corner for me.
Frank?
68.
Frank,
Yes,
this
ma'am.
is Sandy. I'm sorry. because this happened while we were away. Who purchased Cockle Cove? Do we know?
It was sold to a developer from Dennis, and he's building 2 houses.
Okay, thank you.
68 Shell Drive, they had their meeting with the Conscom on the 12th. I thought it went very well. From my point of view, of his perspective, is that they seemed to have some kind of an understanding of what he was trying to accomplish from an environmental point of view. There's a follow-up meeting, and then the meeting with the ZBA on the 24th. We continue to remain hopeful, those of us who are involved in this, that we're going to find a way to save the Nickerson house, hopefully. Other than that, nothing new to report. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience and attendance. I know it's difficult, guys. This was not an easy one. Any member of the public wish to join in? I see our Mr. Dean DeCastro, our liaison, is here. Dean, anything you can add about this rather long meeting? I hear silence. Steph, you have your hand up.
Yes, I do. I'd like to revisit the executive decisions
Which executive decision?
about not the whole committee meeting to discuss something like this. I think this is too big to just be done by a small group.
It wasn't done by a small group, Steph.
The decision.
No, we made no decision, Stephanie. The only thing I did is ask Don and Bob their opinion.
Yeah, but you didn't have the stuff sent to us.
That was a different mistake. It has nothing to do with the process. A mistake. Yeah. No, Steph. Don't please don't interpret it that way. It was not an intention to keep. It was just a mistake on my part in a conversation with Michelle on what we were sending. How we were putting the packet together.
Thank you.
No. Well, we can talk about it at the next meeting if you need some more clarification of the process of the administrative review. This was not an administrative review process. What it was on my case was I just wanted to get some other opinions. And I said it was similar, and that was a mistake, I guess. I said it was similar to the administrative review process in that myself as the chair was not going to make a decision, that we needed to at least a couple of other members to take a look at it. Okay, guys, I'm dead.
Frank, it's Bob.
Yes, sir.
Just add one little thing to that. I think it's also significant that we were not discussing it offline, if you will.
That's right.
Each looked at it and had an opinion.
Right. And Steph, that's an important element here. If the 3 of us would have talked about it, that is a violation of the open meeting law. So we can't.
No, I wasn't saying that at all. I was just saying that we all needed to be notified of things.
Well, then we're going to go revisit the whole issue of administrative review, Steph. We already approved the process, and if we want to go back and revisit, then we can put it on some future agenda if, in fact, that's what the majority of the board wants to do, and eliminate administrative review. But we thought it was working pretty good. This particular decision was not an administrative review process. Okay, anybody else want to pipe in? And remember, the office of chair of the Environmental and Historical Commission is always available. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Unfortunately, we have to do a roll call, and I lost my roll call sheet. Here we go. Bob?
Yes.
Sandy? Ben?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
And
Yes.
The chair votes no, but the majority approves it. Have a great afternoon, guys.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I know it was difficult, and we needed to get it all.